It is 5:30. I'll call the special work session of the Marin City Council to order. On tonight's agenda, ordinance number 2028, an ordinance amending the general operating budget and capital improvement program of the Marin City Council of Laurel, Maryland for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and providing an effective date. Director Saylor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the City Council. I just want to thank you for entertaining this special work session and next week's special meeting. The dates were really against me in July for the regular meeting, so we're still working on FY24, just trying to wrap some things up, but I wanted to bring this before you and go through the changes that I've proposed. On page 2 of the ordinance, where the numbers begin in the revenue section, I have letter A, which is a $250,000 increase to real estate tax revenue. This was unexpected real estate tax revenue. It's my understanding that more new accounts came online than we had expected as we prepared the FY 2024 budget. As we've discussed on many occasions, we get that notification of what the total assessable base is, and there are projections made for changes for the additions of new construction and the like. So at the time, we do the best we can with the information we're given, but we do have this additional $250,000 that I'm adding to the budget. The next line is an addition of $250,000 to local income tax. The city of Laurel receives a portion of our residents' income tax. So it's based on certification of the comptroller as to the state income tax liability and county income tax liability of the residents of the municipality. It equals the greater of 17% of the county income tax liability of the residents, or 0.37% of the Maryland taxable income. So based on the receipts that we have in hand, I'm proposing to appropriate that additional $250,000. Note C, which is an addition to other local taxes of $240,479. That's made up of $35,479, which is the cannabis tax we've already received. So the tax that's paid by those merchants, those locations, the county is remitting 50% of what they received to the municipalities. The other part of that $240,000 is $205,000, and that's an addition to the highway user revenue. And this revenue is based on vehicle registration and city street mileage. They give us credit for the street mileage that we maintain in the city limits, as well as capital funds based on gas tax. So we received $205,000 more than was budgeted. And that needs to be dedicated to a public works function. And at this stage of the game, that would be to transfer these funds to the CIP to be able to use it for a street project. You'll also see line D for federal grants. This reflects, and it has an offsetting expenditure for the use of our American Rescue Plan, our ARPA funds. So this was the total expenditure for the year. Those funds are sitting in a separate bank account, and we bring them into the city main account as we pay bills periodically. But at this point in time, we're just showing that final budget based on exactly what we spent from those funds during the fiscal year. And then note E, the $72,730. This was based on $45,485 in insurance proceeds for vehicles. $11,723 for a water damage insurance proceeds. The water damage was at the Armory. And then, if you'll remember, we had the presentation from the executive director of Legit. We received the grant for the vehicle backup sensors for our public works vehicles, $15,522. So that's an overall addition of $3,494,679. And again, the largest share of that is from the ARPA funds. If we can move on to the expenditures, which start at the bottom of page 2, note F is an addition of $50,000 to the Department of Budget and Personnel Services. We're finding, as we have for some time, that with more of our customers, clients paying electronically, that our banking services fees are increasing significantly, which, at least we are not trying to chase down insufficient checks or that, so it's just a cost of doing business. We periodically have, there are companies that analyze the bills, so we do that periodically just to make sure that we are using the best products. Some of the fees, some of the systems are tied to the various software systems. So Parks and Recreation has ActiveNet. We also have Tyler Technologies for permits, and the invoices that come out of my office for residential special pickup and the commercial pickups. So that's where we are with that. Note G, an additional $20,000 in grounds maintenance. There were a number of major tree removal services that were required, and additional park benches and grills were purchased recently. Moving on to page 3, note H for the municipal center. So I'm sure you noticed in several of the notes that there were a number of HVAC systems at our various facilities that required major repairs or compressor replacements, or top dollar costs. And so that's the addition of $10,000 for the municipal center, $23,000 for the DePietro Community Center. Note J, you'll see that corresponding insurance proceeds for the Armory for $11,723. Again, with the museum, another HVAC system issue. So moving on to L, so we had savings at the police facility. So to make up for some of these additions that came before, we have $15,000 coming from the police facility, $25,000 coming from the Goody House. So Parks and Recreation has partnered with a youth wrestling club. So wrestling mats were purchased to be housed at 204 Fort Meade Road at the multi-service center on the gymnasium side. So we've added $13,000 to the 204, and you'll see that reduction. There's a corresponding N reduction from the Parks and Recreation Administration budget, which came from the Youth Services Commission grant funds that were unused. Down to O. So in FY24, we budgeted in preparation for the opening of the multi-service center, and that didn't happen. So what we're proposing to do is take a share of that program budget and contribute that to the board of directors of the multi-service center. The multi-service center side of the building is set up as a 501c3, and the long-term plan is for them to operate that, the multi-service center, for them to be in full operation of that. And until that time, the city will budget those funds. Of course, we'll still maintain ownership of the building moving forward, but this will give them a good amount of seed money so they can, if they come across any matching grants. Ms. LeBlanc is doing a fantastic job of applying for grants and winning them, being awarded. So we feel like these funds will be best utilized in that fashion so that they can build on their funds moving forward to that long-term goal. Note P, so again, those were some addition of $50,000 to the automotive maintenance. There were some major repairs of vehicles that were done, as well as the insurance proceeds for some repairs from accidents. Moving on to Q, a reduction of $75,000 in highways and street maintenance. Further down is the corresponding N for the wrestling mats. Below that is a reduction of $23,000 in the recreation program, and that corresponds with the RJD Center HVAC work. Down to R, so we're proposing an additional contribution to the pension fund of $250,000. S was savings from the property insurance budget, $1,000 of which needs to be moved to the bonding insurance budget due to an increase in the bonding insurance. And the corresponding R, so the savings of $250,000 coming from the employee insurance account. This was due to a number of vacancies throughout the year, as well as, we budget based on history, and sometimes you hire new folks, but they have other coverage through the spouse or previous employment. So those were those savings. And then the cumulative effect of some of those other reductions in some other departments are shown here, as well as the $150,000 from the multi-service center as a transfer of $973,486. And then D is the corresponding expenditure for the use of the ARPA funds. The budget transfer column, which is just to the left of the column I've been going through, as we've discussed, that with Parks and Recreation and Public Works having multiple, if you want to call them sub-departments, but they are a department number in the system, and this budget is adopted at the department total level, so any transfers between, even if it's all Parks and Rec or all Public Works, it's going to show up in an ordinance. Those budget transfers are circulated from my office, which double checks all the numbers, to the city administrator, to the mayor's office, to the council president before they are done. But some of those that needed to be done this year was to replace the Goody House boiler, some backflow replacements at multiple city buildings. Like I said, some major repairs of some of the heavy-duty vehicles for Public Works. They had some street trees that needed to be removed. So these are, and the water damage. While we had some insurance funds, it didn't cover all of the water damage costs at the armory. So those were the transfers in that second column on page 3. And you can see the net effect at the bottom of that was 0. Any questions on the operating side?
Any questions from the council? Go ahead, Mr. Simmons.
First of all, thank you. I know it takes a lot to get all these numbers right, so I appreciate that. A quick question on the ARPA expenditures. Are those mostly, is that infrastructure, that's equipment, that's compensation?
It's mostly equipment and services. I can get a breakdown
Okay.
for you of those expenditures.
That's fine.
A lot of it for the 204 building construction.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
One question, Mr. President.
Councilman Mills.
On the expenditures, the mark is in red. So I was just taking notes that they are, some are savings and then some are reductions, you say?
So basically, the departments where we can take, in that third column, where we can take those amounts are because of savings. So we had savings in recreation that we were able to move to the DePietro Center maintenance because to cover the costs of the HVAC repair that needed to be done.
So what would be the difference of the two? Like you say, some are savings and then some are reductions. Like, let's say, line Q, the 75,000.
Right, so there was savings in highways and streets maintenance.
So that's considered savings also?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, it wouldn't, yes, there would need to be savings for me to make the reduction.
Oh, I got you.
The reduction is based on savings of that department total.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify the two for my notes. Thank you.
Any other questions, or should we continue on?
I have one question.
Ms. Johnson?
Under Laurel Multi-Service Center Programs, the 326, I know you said you took the 150 from the opening to go towards the Board of Directors. So I still see the opening is scheduled though, so there is still money for the opening to continue?
Right, so this was for the year ending June 30.
Okay.
I'm working between 2 years now, but this is strictly for 24. So as of June 30, with maybe some remaining invoices for things that were ordered June 30 or earlier for supplies to get ready for the opening, this was the amount that was saved for that time.
Okay.
So yes, we budgeted in 25 all over again
Right.
for the operations.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was the anticipation that we would have opened last year, but then got pushed to the next fiscal year. So that's where the savings come. We didn't use all of the money that we had anticipated because we haven't opened yet.
Thank you. I think we have a little bit more to go through still.
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so just touching again on the operating budget. So between the savings from the multi-service center of $150,000 and then the receipt of the cannabis tax money, that would give a contribution to the board of the multi-service center, $185,479. And according to the information provided by Ms. Green, that we'll need to do reports every couple of years on what those funds will be used for. So the receipt of the tax money will be ongoing. I believe it'll be quarterly, but this time we got it all at once in June.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Just for the record, Ms. Saylor, that $35,479 can be used for anything, right? It don't have to be directly used for a specific line item in the budget. We can put it in the general funds. We can donate it to like we did to the Multipurpose Center Board of Directors. There's no law stating directly what that money can be used for. Is that correct?
I don't think so. And if it was, it would probably be for drug interdiction programs.
Right.
But we're looking into that a little bit more so we can provide some guidance to the board.
Right. But right now, it's open right now.
Right. they'll be able to use it to match grants if needed. So the top of page 4 is the capital improvement program. So the column of changes here reflects the transfer, part of the transfer, less the Board of Director contribution of $185,479. This is the allocation of $738,007 of those funds, those accumulated funds throughout the ordinance. So $305,000 for environmental programs, $25,000 for citywide furniture replacements, $103,007 for park improvements, $100,000 for sidewalk improvements, $35,000 for C Street between Main and Fetty Alley, and additional funds for the Van Dusen Road project of $170,000. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director Saylor. Are there any other questions from the council? Hearing none, ordinance number 2028 will be put on this agenda for tonight's meeting at 6 PM of the Mayor and City Council. With no further business for the work session, this meeting is adjourned.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, we are not adjourned yet. Director Saylor has one more comment.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to add, as you can see and you hear the descriptions of the budget transfers that needed to be done to keep the machine going, we received information, you may have seen it yourselves, that the State of Maryland Board of Public Works has voted to make changes amounting to $150 million of the state budget already in the third week of the fiscal year. We received word also that the disposal fees will be increasing at the Annapolis Junction Transfer Station. So things, it's not anything that's written in stone. We have to be flexible, and these are things that are just always happening. I can tell you, a long time ago, 2009, the Board of Public Works slashed the state budget, and we went from $799,000 in highway user revenue to $29,000. So that was quite a scramble. I just want to point out, it can happen to us. These things are constantly moving. So, and with the explanations that have been given by the Board of Public Works, that this is just the beginning, it appears. So anyway, just wanted to make that point.
Thank you. All right, meeting adjourned.